The woman who became famous at 78. Imagine waking up one morning, looking at your hands, and realizing that the dream you once had has already slipped away. Most people would call that the end. But what if the greatest chapter of your life hadn't even begun yet? What if success wasn't waiting for you at 20, or 30, or even 50? What if it was waiting until your late 70s? This is not a fictional story. This is the unbelievable true story of a woman who spent nearly her entire life doing ordinary work, raising children, washing clothes, cooking meals, working on a farm, while the rest of the world had absolutely no idea that a legendary artist was quietly living among them. She had no college degree, no expensive training, no famous connections, no social media, no investors, no shortcuts. For decades, she believed her opportunity had passed. And then, at an age when most people stopped dreaming, she accidentally discovered the talent that would make her one of America's most beloved artists. Her paintings would hang inside museums. Collectors would pay thousands of dollars. The President of the United States would honor her. Millions of people would know her name. But none of that happened until she was almost 80 years old. Her name was Grandma Moses, and once you hear her journey, you may never complain about being too late ever again.
Before the world called her Grandma Moses, she was simply Anna Mary Robertson. She was born in rural New York in 1860. There were no smartphones, no electricity in most homes, no internet, no modern conveniences. Life was incredibly difficult. From childhood, she learned something that would shape her entire future: hard work. Every single day, she helped with farm chores. She cooked. She cleaned. She took care of animals. She worked from sunrise until long after sunset. While other children dreamed, Anna learned responsibility. School lasted only a short time. Her family couldn't afford more education. By the age of 12, she was already working for other families, earning money just to survive. Every dollar mattered. Every meal had to be earned. She wasn't chasing fame. She wasn't chasing success. She was simply trying to make it through another day. Years passed. She married a farmer named Thomas Moses. Together, they built a simple life. They raised 10 children, although heartbreak followed them. Only 5 survived into adulthood. The pain was unbearable. Yet life demanded that she keep moving. Every morning there were cows to feed, meals to prepare, fields to manage. No matter how broken her heart felt, work never stopped. And without realizing it, those ordinary moments were quietly preparing her for an extraordinary future.
For more than 50 years, Anna Moses lived the same routine. Wake up before sunrise, cook, clean, work in the fields, take care of her family, then do it all over again the next day. There were no applause, no headlines, no recognition, just responsibility. As the years passed, her children grew up. Life slowly became quieter, but something inside Anna never disappeared. She always loved creating things with her hands. Whenever she found a few free moments, she enjoyed embroidery, tiny stitches, beautiful patterns, simple pieces of art made only for the joy of making them. It became her escape, a peaceful corner in a life filled with endless work. But then, life surprised her once again. As she entered her 70s, arthritis began attacking her hands. The pain grew worse every year. Holding a needle became almost impossible. Imagine losing the one hobby that gave your heart peace. Most people would have accepted defeat. It's just old age. My best years are over. I guess that's it. But Anna refused to let pain decide the rest of her story. Instead of asking, "What can I no longer do?" she asked, "What can I still do?" That single question changed everything. Someone suggested, if embroidery hurts your hands, why don't you try painting? Painting? She had never studied art. She had never attended an art school. She had never imagined that she could become an artist. But she bought a few inexpensive paintbrushes, some simple paints, and began experimenting. No expectations, no audience, no pressure, just curiosity. She started painting the only things she truly knew: the farms, the snowy fields, children playing, harvest seasons, simple country life. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was simply painting the memories stored inside her heart. Without realizing it, every brushstroke carried decades of experience. Every painting told a real story. And that authenticity would soon capture the attention of the entire nation. At first, almost nobody noticed her paintings. She painted quietly, inside her home, one canvas after another. Not for fame, not for money, simply because it made her happy. That is one of the biggest lessons in success. The people who change the world usually begin without anyone watching. Day after day, Grandma Moses continued painting. Her confidence slowly grew. Every new artwork became better than the last. She wasn't competing with younger artists. She wasn't chasing trends. She wasn't trying to copy anyone. She painted from memory, from emotion, from experience. Every snowy village, every old red barn, every autumn harvest was a piece of her own life. Years of hardship were quietly transforming into timeless works of art. Then, an ordinary day, something completely unexpected happened. A man passing through her small town walked into a local pharmacy. Inside, he noticed several paintings hanging for sale. They were simple, peaceful, different from anything he had seen before. The man's name was Louis J. Caldor, an art collector from New York. He immediately felt there was something special about these paintings. He bought every painting he could find. He wanted to know who created them. The answer shocked him. The artist was not a young prodigy, not a famous painter, not someone from New York or Paris. She was a quiet woman, nearly 80 years old, living on a farm. That discovery was about to change Grandma Moses's life forever. Imagine this for a moment. You spend nearly 80 years living an ordinary life. No headlines, no awards. No one outside your small town knows your name. Then one stranger walks into a local shop, sees your work, and suddenly your entire future changes. That is exactly what happened to Grandma Moses. Louis J. Caldor couldn't stop thinking about the paintings he had discovered. There was something impossible to ignore. The colors weren't perfect. The techniques weren't academic, but the emotion was unforgettable. These paintings didn't just show landscapes, they told stories. Stories of American life, stories of hard work, stories of families, stories that millions of people had lived but almost no one had painted. Caldor believed the world deserved to see them, so he searched for Grandma Moses. When he finally met her, he didn't see an old woman. He saw an extraordinary storyteller holding a paintbrush. For Grandma Moses, it was difficult to believe. She had never imagined that someone from New York City would care about her paintings. She wasn't trying to become famous. She simply smiled and kept painting. Sometimes the greatest opportunities arrive when you're too busy doing what you love to notice them. Soon, Caldor began introducing her work to galleries, collectors, and art professionals. Many were surprised. An artist who started painting in her 70s? It sounded impossible. But once they saw her work, their doubts disappeared. Her paintings had something that couldn't be taught in any classroom, a lifetime of experience. Every canvas carried memories that only decades of living could create, and people felt that instantly. Without expensive marketing, without social media, without advertising, word began spreading. America had discovered Grandma Moses.
In 1939, something remarkable happened. Several of Grandma Moses's paintings were selected for an art exhibition in New York. For most artists, this would have been the biggest moment of their career. For Grandma Moses, it was only the beginning. Visitors stopped and stared at her paintings. There was a warmth that made people smile. The snow-covered villages, children skating on frozen ponds, farmers working together, small-town celebrations. Every painting reminded people of a simpler America. During a time when the world was changing rapidly, Grandma Moses painted memories, and people fell in love with them. Newspapers began writing articles. Art critics praised her honesty. Collectors competed to buy her paintings. The same woman who had spent decades believing she was just an ordinary farm wife was suddenly becoming one of America's most admired artists. Think about that. She didn't become successful because she was the youngest. She didn't become successful because she had the best education. She became successful because she refused to stop creating. Age, which many people considered a weakness, became her greatest strength. Every wrinkle on her face represented another story she could paint. Every hardship became another reason people connected with her work. Success had finally arrived. Not after 10 years, not after 20 years, but nearly 8 decades of life. And the most unbelievable part was still waiting ahead.
Success didn't change Grandma Moses. It simply gave the world a chance to notice who she had always been. Even after becoming famous, she didn't move into a luxurious mansion. She didn't try to become someone else. She stayed in the countryside, surrounded by the same peaceful landscapes that had inspired her paintings from the very beginning. Every morning, she picked up her paintbrush with the same humility, the same gratitude, and the same quiet determination. People often asked her, "What is the secret to your success?" They expected her to reveal some complicated strategy. Instead, her answer was beautifully simple. "I paint because I enjoy it." Think about that. In a world where so many people chase money first, she chased meaning. Money followed. Recognition followed. Respect followed. But they were never the reason she started. That is a lesson many people spend their entire lives trying to understand. Soon, her paintings began appearing everywhere. Collectors paid thousands of dollars. Art galleries proudly displayed her work. Magazines featured her story. Television programs invited her. She became more than an artist. She became a symbol of hope. Hope for anyone who believed they had missed their chance. Every interview, every article carried the same unforgettable message: it is never too late. Millions of Americans saw themselves inside her journey. Some had postponed their dreams. Some believed their age made them invisible. Grandma Moses proved that dreams don't follow calendars. They follow courage, and hers was inspiring an entire nation. As the years passed, Grandma Moses became one of the most recognized artists in the United States. Her paintings traveled far beyond the small farm where they had been created. Museums displayed them, collectors treasured them, families proudly hung them inside their homes. People didn't just buy her paintings, they bought the feeling they created, a feeling of home, a feeling of hope, a reminder that simple moments are often the most beautiful. Then came one of the greatest honors of her life. The President of the United States recognized her extraordinary contribution to American culture. Imagine that, a woman who once believed she was just an ordinary farm wife was now being celebrated by the highest office in the country. The little girl who left school early because her family couldn't afford more education had become a national treasure. But despite all the awards, all the fame, and all the admiration, Grandma Moses never forgot where she came from. She continued living with gratitude. She continued painting almost every single day. Even in her 90s, her creativity never stopped. Most people slow down as they grow older. Grandma Moses seemed to grow brighter. She wasn't counting how many years she had left. She was making sure every year she had was filled with purpose. And perhaps that was the real masterpiece of her life. By the time Grandma Moses reached her 90s, she had accomplished something very few people in history ever do. She had rewritten the meaning of success. People from around the world wanted to meet her. Young artists asked for advice. Journalists wanted interviews. Photographers traveled long distances just to capture the smile of the woman who proved that dreams never grow old. But if you visited her home, you wouldn't find someone obsessed with fame. You would find the same humble woman sitting quietly, holding a paintbrush, bringing another memory to life. That humility made people admire her even more. She often smiled and said that there was always something beautiful waiting to be painted. Think about that. Most people spend years searching for extraordinary opportunities. Grandma Moses found extraordinary beauty inside ordinary life. A snowy morning, children laughing, neighbors helping each other, a horse pulling a wagon, a family gathered for harvest. Moments that many people ignored became timeless masterpieces through her eyes. That is what made her different. She didn't paint what people wanted to see. She painted what she truly loved. And because it came from the heart, millions of people felt connected to it. As the years passed, she created not 10, not 50, but more than 1,000 works of art. Most people think their best years are behind them. Grandma Moses proved your best work might still be waiting for the right moment. And still, her journey wasn't really about paintings. It was about hope. Now, take a moment and think about your own life. Maybe you've been telling yourself, I'm too old. I'm too late. I missed my chance. I'm not talented enough. Those are the same kinds of thoughts that stop millions of people before they ever begin. Grandma Moses had every excuse to give up. She had experienced heartbreak. She had buried children. She had worked for decades without recognition. She had little formal education. She developed arthritis. She began painting when most people had already retired. If anyone had the right to believe it was too late, it was her. Yet she made one decision that changed everything. She started anyway. She didn't wait until she felt ready. She didn't wait for perfect conditions. She simply took the first brushstroke, then another, until one day the world noticed. And maybe that's exactly where your own story begins. Not when everything is perfect, but when you decide to begin. Because history has shown us that success doesn't care about your age. It doesn't care how many times you've failed. It only asks one question. In 1961, America celebrated Grandma Moses's 101st birthday. Imagine that. Not because she was the richest woman, not because she was the most powerful, but because she reminded an entire nation that hope has no expiration date. By the end of her life, she had completed more than 1,500 paintings. Her artwork was displayed in museums, collected by families around the world, and admired by millions. The little farm girl who once believed she was simply living an ordinary life became one of America's most beloved artists. A year later, in 1961, Grandma Moses peacefully passed away at the age of 101. But something incredible happened. She was gone, yet her story never disappeared. Even today, decades later, people still stand in front of her paintings, not just to admire the colors, but to remember the woman who refused to believe that life was over. And maybe that's why you're hearing her story today. Because somewhere, someone is thinking, I'm too old, I'm too late, my opportunity has passed. If that's you, listen carefully. Grandma Moses didn't become successful because she had more talent than everyone else. She became successful because she never stopped believing that she could still create something meaningful. Success didn't arrive when she was 20. It didn't arrive when she was 40. It didn't arrive when she was 60. It arrived when she was nearly 80. So who told you that your deadline has already passed? Who decided that your dream has expired? The truth is, dreams don't have birthdays. Only people do. Your future is not controlled by the number of candles on your birthday cake. It is controlled by the courage to begin today. Maybe your first step won't be perfect. Neither was hers. Maybe people won't believe in you. They didn't believe in her either. Maybe you'll have to start with nothing more than hope. That's enough. Because one small decision today can completely rewrite the next 20 years of your life. Grandma Moses proved that it is never too late to discover your purpose, never too late to learn a new skill, never too late to build a new future, never too late to inspire millions. And perhaps the greatest masterpiece you will ever create is not a painting or a business or a career, Perhaps the greatest masterpiece is the life you choose to build starting today. So, don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait till next year. Don't wait until fear disappears. Take the first step, because the next great success story could be yours. Remember this forever. It's never too late to become the person you were meant to be.